listening to Coffee and Conversation with Recovery Advocate Network, the nonprofit organization that strives to address the staggering disparity in resource availability for individuals suffering from mental health disorders, processing disorders, addictions, trauma healing, and sexual identity challenges. Together, we strive to end the stigma associated with these challenges so that true healing can begin.
Welcome back to Coffee and Conversations Between the Lines Blog Club series. This is episode number 92, where our CEO and podcast host, Ange, will read another blog written by Shayne entitled Split, a Response. Between the Lines episodes are written by guests who prefer to use their written voice instead of their interview voice to share their stories. As a reminder, the views expressed in any blog are the views of the author, and the purpose is to provide a safe place for the author's voice to be heard. Just a quick reminder about Recovery Advocate Network, or RAN. RAN's mission is to support individuals dedicated to their recovery journey but facing challenges due to insurance loopholes. We are on the verge of funding our first bridge grants, which will provide crucial financial assistance to those in need. Your contribution, no matter how small, can make a significant difference in changing and saving lives. We are grateful to have you as a part of our community, so please consider visiting our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org and clicking the donate button today. So, what are we waiting for? Fill up your coffee, sit back, and let's get started.
So the movie Split was released in 2020. It tells the fictional story of a man named Kevin who has 23 alters. One of Kevin's alters abducts 3 teenage girls. Later on, a beast alter enters the movie with a violent, horrific, super villain type character. Hi, it's Shayne, he, they here. As someone who's been diagnosed with DID, dissociative identity disorder, I have long felt like I had a duty to watch and respond to this movie. So, here are my thoughts. First, a little background about DID. There is a lot of controversy and differing opinions about not only the legitimacy of the disorder, but also the theories around its development. In my understanding and what I see to be true, DID develops in response to severe repeated trauma during early childhood. The personality of a young child is not yet fully formed or integrated, and in response to the trauma, alters form to protect the individual and to get them through the horrific experiences they are facing. A note about terminology. In the past, dissociative identity disorder, or DID, was called multiple personality disorder, MPD. The new diagnostic term, DID, is much more appropriate because it aligns the name with the etiology of the disorder, which is dissociation. Also, psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, and individuals diagnosed with DID have differences of opinions about the terms that should be used for the entities that develop due to the trauma. Terms such as personalities, parts, alters, persons, family members, and more. In this writing, I'll refer to my alters as alters. That term is the most comfortable to me, but please be aware that everyone has a different preference. So, let me start with a few good things I was able to pull from this movie. Are alters their own complete persons? Yes. In my experience, alters have their own gender identity. They have their own likes and dislikes. They have their own speech patterns. They have their own roles and ways of handling stress. Alters do share a physical body, but they are completely unique. For a personal example, one of my alters identifies as male and has a caretaker functional role, meaning he is better at taking care of everyday responsibilities, chores, and tasks. Okay, next. Are alters formed to protect the individual? Yes. Alters form out of dissociation when the brain protects itself from the trauma that is happening. These alters that form develop their own unique and effective ways of keeping the individual safe mentally, emotionally, and/or physically. This is truly amazing. The brain is so creative and smart. Alters form for a reason, and they have a function as unique as the individual with DID. Their approaches to protecting the individual can continue long after the initial trauma occurred. For me, the alter that I mentioned earlier has often protected me by separating emotions from memories and functioning without feeling as strong emotions as would be appropriate for the situation. To digress a little, it is important to note that these protective measures can have negative impacts when they are continually used post-trauma. Next question. Should therapists for individuals with DID get to know the alters? Yes. In order to help an individual with DID to heal from their traumatic past, it is critical and unavoidable that any therapist who is involved learns about the individual's alters. Behaviors, coping mechanisms, and specific memories can belong or be held by specific alters. Often, individuals with DID refer to their group of alters as a system. Other terms can be used, but I personally use system. A therapist needs to know a whole system in order to really help. Now, I move on to the bad part of the film. Are alters always very obvious? No. Some systems do not even know they are a system for a long time due to dissociative amnesia. Alters are often very good at pretending or passing as one united individual when necessary. Alters don't always change their clothes and act dramatically different. When the system is comfortable, aware, and accepted, alters can become more obvious and act like themselves. And this is very healing. Okay, do alters have superpowers? No. Alters are, in fact, parts of a human being. They function within a physical human body. Some differences are possible. A voice can change tones, a speech pattern can change, a new language can be spoken. But the alters do not develop superhuman gifts or powers. But wait, there were also more sinister, ugly parts of this film that must be mentioned and called out. Okay, are people with DID dangerous and serial killers? Hell no. Individuals with DID have developed the disorder because they went through extreme childhood trauma. They were hurt horrifically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, sexually. It is dangerous to portray DID in a thriller horror film. Is the existence of DID fiction? No, real people in the real world with real alters, with real trauma history do exist. To sensationalize and misrepresent DID the way this film did is not only harmful to those who have DID, but also to professionals and the general public as well. This can lead to all sorts of real-life problems. It furthers the stigma about DID, but also other forms of mental illness. It makes it almost impossible and frightening for systems to reveal themselves and seek the support they need. I'm sorry, that was a lot. I didn't plan to say that much, but I think it's so important to really take a critical look at films that portray mental health topics, and this one hit close to home. Thanks for listening to this review of the movie Split by Shayne. This podcast is about letting people share their stories and make their voices heard. Shayne shared a little about his personal experience with DID, but also wanted to use this analysis of media to compare his voice to that of a film. Thank you for joining us today with your coffee and conversation. We hope you've been encouraged and learned something from today's story. To learn more about today's guest, please check out our show notes for more details. Now it's time to remember to like this episode, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you do not miss future episodes. Recovery Advocate Network envisions a world where individuals with mental health challenges receive comprehensive and effective treatment without the worry of financial burdens to themselves or their families, all without the stigmas often present in society. We are proud that every individual working with RAN does so on a 100% volunteer basis. You can support the mission by making a financial donation via PayPal or Venmo, or email donate@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org if you would like to donate items for our next fundraising auction. Please visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org to learn more. Now, stay in the loop about upcoming events, future episodes, and more by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all major podcast platforms. As a reminder, the experiences and advice expressed in this episode are the host and guest's own personal stories and do not represent the opinions of any organization mentioned. RAN is passionate about opening the doors for all voices and experiences, not just those expressed in any particular podcast. If you want to share your experiences or expertise, we encourage you to be a future guest by emailing us at podcast@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org or submit a blog by emailing blog@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org. We also encourage you to comment on the episode so that we can continue to provide content that is most beneficial to the community. How do you do that? Visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org, and in the top right corner, click that comment button and comment. So listeners, what do you need to do? Pause what you're doing, subscribe, follow us. Please give us a like and a 5-star rating, write some meaningful comments, and most importantly, share these episodes with your friends. You never know whose heart you will touch, so please be a part of a reason someone has new hope today. If this episode was triggering to you, we encourage you to contact your support system, therapist, national and community support groups, the Global Crisis Text Line by texting 741-741, and/or if in the U.S., dialing 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you're in the U.S. and need additional resources such as shelter, support group resources, transportation, food, and/or a safe, confidential path out of physical or emotional domestic abuse, please call 211 or visit www.211info.org for assistance. Now, we know you are very busy, and we are grateful that you said yes to sharing time with us today. If you stuck to our 3 C's of engagement and listened to the full episode, then visit the podcast section of our website and leave the comment about the podcast, and you'll be entered to win an autographed copy of one of the books from one of our book club series, as well as a Coffee and Conversation coffee mug. So thanks again. Until next time, back to your coffee.